What if I told you that the most successful people on earth have discovered a secret so powerful, yet so simple, that it sounds almost too good to be true? What if the answer to everything you've been chasing, wealth, love, success, peace, isn't found in doing more, but in doing less? The world has convinced you that victory comes from hustle, from grinding, from never giving up the fight. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. Every master, every millionaire, every person living their dream life has discovered the same secret, and it happens in complete silence. Think about it. While everyone else is running around like headless chickens, complaining about how hard life is, the truly successful ones, they're sitting quietly. They're listening. They're accessing a power that the masses don't even know exists. And today, I'm going to share that exact same secret with you. But first, let me tell you about the greatest lie ever told. Society has programmed you to believe that if you're not constantly moving, constantly doing, constantly achieving, you're somehow failing. They've made you afraid of stillness. They've convinced you that quiet equals laziness, that rest equals weakness. This is by design, because when you're constantly busy, constantly distracted, constantly chasing the next thing, you never discover the incredible power that lives within you. You never access the voice that could change everything. You remain trapped in the hamster wheel of endless effort, with minimal results. But what if I told you that some of the most powerful moments in human history happened not in boardrooms or battlefields, but in complete silence? What if the greatest inventions, the most profound insights, the most life-changing realizations, all came from people who dared to be still? You've done enough chasing, enough writing, enough planning. The answers you desperately seek cannot be found in the noise of the world. They wait in the silence, where only the faithful dare to go. Don't move, don't write, just listen. Because here's what the top 1% know that you don't. The person who truly listens can never be defeated. There is a voice, quiet, constant, and true whispering from within you right now. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for your attention like your phone, like the endless distractions around you. It waits patiently for the moment when you finally put the pen down, take your hands off the wheel, and become still enough to hear it. This voice speaks your future. This voice already sees you victorious. It doesn't tell you to try. It tells you to know. It doesn't give you hope. It gives you certainty. It doesn't promise that things might work out. It shows you that they already have, in the realm where all things are first created before they appear in your physical world. Every time you sit in silence and listen to that inner assurance, saying you already have it, you move mountains. Every time you resist the urge to chase, and instead align inwardly, you rewrite the world without lifting a finger. But here's what will blow your mind. Most people spend their entire lives trying to move mountains with their bare hands, when they could be moving them with their consciousness. They exhaust themselves, pushing against circumstances, fighting against conditions, struggling against what is, never realizing that the real power lies in changing what is from within. You see, there are two worlds operating simultaneously. There's the outer world, the one you see with your eyes, the one that seems so solid and unchangeable. And then there's the inner world, the realm of consciousness, imagination, and infinite possibility. The outer world is just a shadow of the inner world. When you change something in the inner world, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match. This isn't wishful thinking or New Age nonsense. This is the fundamental principle behind every great achievement in human history. People will ask, how did you do it? And you'll smile, because you didn't do anything. You listened, and listening became your power. Here's a shocking truth that will disturb you. We're living in the noisiest era in human history. Not just external noise, though that's certainly overwhelming, but internal noise. The constant chatter in your mind. The endless stream of thoughts, worries, plans, and distractions. This noise is killing your dreams. Every successful person, every spiritual master, every individual who has transcended ordinary limitations has learned to quiet this noise. They've discovered that beneath the mental static lies a profound intelligence, a creative force that knows exactly how to bring about any desired outcome. But you can't access this intelligence while your mind is racing. You can't hear divine guidance while you're drowning in mental chatter. You can't receive inspiration while you're busy generating desperation. The solution? Strategic stillness. Imagination speaks, but not to the busy, not to the frantic, not to the doubting. It speaks to the one who closes their eyes and listens in faith. Not for proof, not for permission, but for the knowing that it is already done. Your imagination isn't just your ability to daydream or fantasize. It's literally the creative power of the universe expressing itself through you. When you imagine something, really imagine it, with feeling and conviction. You're not just entertaining yourself. You're actually creating in the invisible realm. Every single thing that exists in your physical world first existed in someone's imagination. The device you're using to read this, someone imagined it first. The building you're in, someone saw it in their mind before it was ever constructed. The life you're living right now, it first took shape in the realm of imagination, either yours or someone else's. When you listen, you win, because in the stillness you become the one who already has it. You hear yourself as wealthy. You hear yourself as loved. You hear yourself as healed, whole, successful. And what you hear inwardly and consistently must show itself outwardly. This isn't a metaphor. This isn't symbolic. This is the literal mechanism by which your outer world is created and maintained. Your imagination is the control room of your life experience. So today, let the world spin. Let others chase. You sit quietly, listen carefully, and possess completely. Here's something that will shock you. True creation begins in stillness, not in motion, not in force, not in striving, but in the silence between thoughts, in the sacred stillness of being. Think about the most creative moments of your life. Were you struggling and straining when the best ideas came? Or were you relaxed, maybe in the shower, or taking a walk, or just before falling asleep? The greatest insights always come when the mind is still. This world, as you know it, is merely a reflection, a mirror casting back the state of your inner world. Yet few ever stop long enough to see this truth. They rush, they plan, they push. But the secret, the true alchemy of life, is stillness. You are not here to force outcomes. You are here to realize them. And realization doesn't come by movement. It arrives in quiet. When the noise fades and the mind sinks back into its source, something miraculous happens. You begin to remember who you really are. Not the struggling, striving person you've been taught to identify with, but the powerful, creative being you actually are. You remember that you're not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are that creative force, expressing itself as you. You cannot hear the music of your destiny when your soul is filled with noise. You cannot feel the movement of spirit when your hands are too busy trying to control every detail. But when you become still, deeply, deliberately still, something miraculous begins to stir. You begin to remember. You remember that you were never meant to chase. You were meant to become. Here's what seems impossible, but is absolutely true. Stillness is not passivity. It's not weakness. It's not giving up or checking out. Stillness is power restrained, awareness uncluttered, presence untouched by the distractions of the world. It's in this stillness that imagination becomes clear, that the inner voice is heard, and that the invisible world begins to shape the visible. The moment you close your eyes and turn away from the five senses, you return to the secret place, the origin of all that appears real. And there, in that silent inner world, you find that creation doesn't require effort, only awareness. The greatest leaders in history knew this secret. They understood that real power comes not from controlling everything externally, but from mastering the inner realm, where all external things originate. Everything you desire, the love, the wealth, the healing, the success, it already exists. But it exists in the unseen. To touch it, to claim it, you must become still enough to see it in your mind and feel it in your soul. You cannot attract what you have not. First become in spirit. And becoming is not achieved through action, but through surrender. Surrender to the silence, to the knowing that what is truly yours is already yours. Most people are trying to attract their desires from a state of lack. They're trying to draw something to them that they don't feel they already have. But this very effort reinforces the experience of not having it. The real secret is becoming. When you become wealthy in consciousness, wealth flows to you effortlessly. When you become loved in your inner world, love surrounds you in your outer world. When you become successful in your imagination, success becomes your reality. Many fear stillness because it reveals what's really there. In movement, you can avoid yourself. In action, you can pretend. But in stillness, there's nowhere to run. You come face to face with your own beliefs, your assumptions, your fears. But don't be afraid. It's only in facing them that you can dissolve them. And once they're gone, you're left with truth. The truth that you are not separate from what you seek. You are it. Let me share something that will change everything for you. It's not what you write, nor what you say aloud, that holds the true power to change your life. It's what you hear, quietly, consistently, and inwardly. This is the great mystery most overlook. The inner ear is the true gateway to creation. What you listen to within yourself, you eventually embody, and what you embody, you express. The outer world is simply the echo of your inner hearing. Most people are destroying their dreams without even knowing it. They speak words of faith while inwardly rehearsing doubt. They write affirmations, but fall asleep to the inner dialogue of fear. They speak of success, but listen to the internal voice, telling them they're not enough. This contradiction is why so many remain stuck. The world responds not to what you say, but to what you inwardly accept as true. You become what you consistently hear in the silence of your being. When no one is watching, when the world is quiet, the voice within speaks. If you hear lack, if you hear rejection, if you hear fear, your life will shape itself accordingly. But if you hear abundance, if you hear worthiness, if you hear peace, then even without saying a word, your world will rise to meet that vibration. There's no deception in the inner ear. It reveals exactly where your faith lives. You may fool others with bold speech, but you cannot fool the law of consciousness. The voice you return to again and again, in the still moments of the day, that is the voice creating your tomorrow. You always have a choice. To tune in to the voice of limitation, or to the whisper of truth. This is why silence is sacred. It reveals what's truly at work within you. And once you're aware of what you're inwardly hearing, you have the power to change it. Not through force, but through gentle repetition. Through choosing again and again to listen to the voice that tells you all things are possible. You are worthy. You are already it. Your inner hearing is your true teacher. It guides you, corrects you, inspires you. It's not the loud voice of the world, but the quiet, unwavering tone of knowing. You cannot hear it when your mind is busy. You cannot access it when you're rushing. But when you sit in stillness and close the outer ear, the inner ear opens wide. And what you hear there, in that secret chamber of the soul, is what you will live. All transformation begins with a shift in what you inwardly listen to. If you wish to change your life, change what you hear. Stop giving energy to voices of criticism, of defeat, of fear. These are old recordings, and they are not you. Instead, tune in to the voice that already sees you as whole, successful, and free. It's there. It has always been there, waiting. Even now, in this moment, it speaks softly, calmly, confidently. You are more than enough. You are already chosen. Nothing is missing. Can you hear it? Can you quiet the noise long enough to truly listen? Here's the paradigm shift that separates winners from everyone else. Effort is the enemy of faith. The more you strive, the more you affirm that what you desire is not yet yours. And so the chase continues, and fulfillment slips further from reach. But there's another way, a higher way, where you stop trying and start trusting. You don't push, you allow. You don't chase, you choose. You don't beg, you become. Faith doesn't require effort. It requires surrender. To trust is to know, not to hope with doubt behind your eyes, but to rest in the assurance that what you have imagined is already established in the unseen. This world is not changed by your force. It's changed by your assumption. When you stop trying to make something happen, and instead assume the state of the one for whom it has already happened, reality bends to reflect that change. Trying keeps you in the state of wanting. Trusting places you in the state of having. And what you have in consciousness will soon become visible in form. There's no need to strain. The universe doesn't respond to how hard you work. It responds to how deeply you believe. All creation begins with inner conviction, not outer effort. This is the invitation. Step out of the chase. Step into the knowing. You don't need to keep proving yourself. You don't need to keep asking. You only need to receive. And receiving requires stillness. It requires listening. It requires alignment with what already exists within you. Because all things truly are within. They're not outside waiting to be won. They're inside waiting to be accepted. To stop trying doesn't mean to do nothing. It means to stop the inner struggle. It means to lay down the weapons of fear and control, and to walk boldly into the identity that matches your desire. The moment you say within yourself, I am already this, the world begins to move in harmony with your new belief. But as long as you continue to chase the thing, you declare its absence. And what you declare, you create. Let go of the need to force. Drop the habit of questioning how and when. These are the burdens of the doubter. You are not here to carry them. You are here to dwell in the state of already being. You are here to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and to rest in that feeling as if it were the only truth. Trust is not blind. It sees clearly. It sees through appearances and holds fast to the unseen reality. Trust knows that the seed already planted will bloom, even before a single leaf appears. Trust doesn't dig up the soil every day to check. It waters, it waits, it believes. When you stop trying, the noise quiets, the resistance melts, and something far greater begins to work through you. You're no longer the one making it happen. You become the one for whom it is happening. This is the shift. This is the key. So don't move. Don't strive. Don't exhaust yourself in pursuit. Close your eyes. Go within. Feel the joy of already being it. Let that be your only effort. The gentle effort of inner alignment. Because the truth is simple. You don't get what you chase. You get what you are. And to become it, you must trust it. Trust the process. Trust the voice within. Trust the power that has never failed and never will. Stop trying. Start trusting. And watch the world give you what was already yours. Every word you hear within yourself is a seed. It may seem small, silent, and invisible, but it carries within it the full potential of a new world. When you listen in silence, when you allow yourself to hear without resistance, you're not merely daydreaming or escaping. You are planting. You are sowing thoughts into the deep, unseen soil of consciousness. And that soil is always fertile. It doesn't question. It doesn't resist. It simply receives and brings forth after its kind. There's no wasted word in the inner world. Every phrase, every idea, every whispered belief that you accept and repeat within yourself takes root. Some grow quickly. Some lie dormant until watered with repetition. But they all grow. Not by your labor, not by your striving, but by your faith in their reality. You see, consciousness is not passive. It's alive. It's the creative force that shapes your outer world from your inner assumptions. The moment you allow a new idea to settle within, truly settle, without doubt or contradiction, you have activated a seed. And like all seeds, it doesn't need you to constantly check on it. It needs you to trust. This is why silence is powerful. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is. It's in silence that you finally stop scattering your energy. You stop pushing, reacting, and resisting. You become still, and in that stillness, your true desires rise to the surface. And when you hear them clearly, inwardly, without noise, you begin to plant with intention. It's not the loud outer voice that creates. It's the still inner one, that voice that says, I am well, I am whole, I am already what I desire to be. These are not just affirmations, they are seeds, and when repeated in the quiet chambers of the soul, they begin to reshape everything around you. But you must be mindful of what you're planting. The inner world doesn't distinguish between good or bad, wanted or unwanted. It simply accepts what you repeatedly say and feel. If you say, "Nothing ever works for me," that too is a seed, and it will grow. If you say, "I'm always lucky," that also is a seed, and it too will bear fruit. The soil of consciousness is not partial. It yields to the sower. So listen carefully, speak carefully, think carefully, because each word is a creative act. Each inner statement is a blueprint, and over time, what you have planted will rise. Not suddenly, not all at once, but surely. That's the nature of the seed. You don't need to shout it. You don't need to force it. Whisper it in faith. Let it settle. Let it take root. Then live your life in quiet expectancy, knowing the harvest will arrive. This is the secret of all transformation. It begins not with action, but with attention. Attention to what you're saying within yourself. When you sit in silence and hear the truth of who you are, not the noise of the world, but the truth, you're doing more than imagining. You're creating. You're directing the future by what you believe in the present. And belief is not shown by outer declarations. It's revealed by the still, persistent inner voice. So guard your inner speech. Nourish it. Let your words within be soft, sure, and aligned with the life you wish to live. Because whether you recognize it or not, you're always planting. Every word is a seed. Every silence is an opportunity. And the more you listen in faith, the more your life becomes a garden of everything you once only imagined. Your imagination is always speaking. It whispers softly beneath the noise of daily life, beneath the obligations, the fears, the questions, the constant need to make things happen. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It speaks in images, in feelings, in subtle nudges that pull you toward your deepest truth. But the question isn't whether it speaks. The question is, are you listening? You were never meant to control the how. That burden was never yours. Life doesn't respond to control. It responds to alignment. And alignment begins with surrender. Your task is not to orchestrate every step or figure out every detail. Your task is to listen, to feel, to trust what rises within, not from logic, but from that deeper place where the true self lives, the place where all creation begins. Close your eyes and tune in, not to the outer world, where noise rules and opinions shift like wind. Tune in to the inner world, where your imagination has already painted the life you long for. That vision, the one that seems too big, too bold, too far away, is not fantasy. It's guidance. It's instruction from a higher realm of yourself. It doesn't tease you. It reveals you. It shows you who you really are and what already belongs to you. But to hear it, you must be still. You must let go of the anxious need to make something happen. You must quiet the voice that says, "I must do more, try harder, figure it all out." That voice is not the truth. That voice is fear. And fear cannot guide you into the life you were born to live. Only imagination can do that. Only the inner voice, the one that speaks in knowing, not panic, can lead you into your real destiny. Imagination doesn't speak in chaos. It speaks in clarity. When you feel peace, when you feel certainty rising from within you, that is the sign. That is the inner language that says, "This is yours. Walk in it." You don't have to earn it. You only have to allow it. The victory is not something you must achieve. It's something you must recognize. Your imagined victory is the seed of a future already planted. The moment you see it in your mind, you have touched the eternal. You have glimpsed the unseen reality that wants to unfold through you. But instead of chasing it, you must embody it. You must feel it now, as if it were already done. That is how you listen. That is how you receive. The imagination is your inner compass. It's always pointing to the truth of what's possible, not according to the world's standards or limitations, but according to your own divine design. Every time you close your eyes and dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you're not escaping life. You're commanding it. You're instructing the unseen to arrange itself around your new assumption. This is not wishful thinking. This is the deepest form of listening. It's the art of hearing what the world cannot yet see and responding to it with trust. You don't need proof. You only need presence. Presence in the state. Presence in the vision. Presence in the knowing that what is seen in imagination is more real than what is seen in form. So stop fighting. Stop planning every move. Stop questioning the timing. Sit quietly. Feel the outcome. Hear it in your spirit. The voice of your imagination is your victory speaking. Let it rise. Let it live through you. Because the more you listen, the more you align. And when you align, there's nothing to chase, only everything to receive. You win, not by force, not by effort, not by striving, but by becoming. And the becoming happens first in silence. It begins within, where no one sees, where no applause echoes, and no opinions can sway. In that stillness, you're not trying to get something. You're remembering who you are. You're aligning with the identity that already possesses the thing you seek. Manifestation is not the result of activity. It's the result of identity. You don't receive what you want. You receive who you are. And who you are is determined by what you accept as true in the quiet of your own mind. The inner conversation, the inner assumption, the inner feeling, that is the birthplace of all outward change. To become is to win. Not outwardly, not for show, but inwardly, where it matters most. That's where the seed is planted. That's where the world begins to reshape itself around you. When you sit in silence and accept the truth of your desired state, you begin to live from it. And once you live from it, the world cannot help but reflect it. Presence in the state. Presence in the vision. Presence in the knowing that what is seen in imagination is more real than what is seen in form. So stop fighting. Stop planning every move. Stop questioning the timing. Sit quietly. Feel the outcome. Hear it in your spirit. The voice of your imagination is your victory speaking. Let it rise. Let it live through you. Because the more you listen, the more you align. And when you align, there's nothing to chase, only everything to receive. Silence is sacred, because in silence, the noise of limitation dies. The stories you've repeated to yourself, of lack, of doubt, of fear, begin to dissolve. And in their place, you hear something deeper. You hear the voice of truth, the still and powerful knowing that you already are what you desire to be. Not someday, not maybe, now. You don't need to speak it out loud. You don't need to convince anyone. You only need to feel it as real. That feeling repeated becomes a state, and that state becomes your identity. Once it becomes your identity, the external world bends to meet it. It must, because the world is not separate from you. It's a mirror, a divine echo of your innermost assumptions. The outer world has no choice but to conform to the inner man, and the inner man is shaped by what he listens to in silence. So the question is not, what should I do? The question is, who am I becoming within? Are you still holding on to the identity of the one who lacks, who doubts, who hopes but does not know? Or have you dared to assume a higher self, one who is already chosen, already favored, already victorious? This is not about pretending. It's about embodying, and embodiment begins before movement. It begins in that sacred space where you close your eyes and dwell in the feeling of already being, already having, already living from the place you once only dreamed of. The mind doesn't argue with identity. It simply follows it. If you believe you are, then you are. If you persist in that belief, quietly, faithfully, without rushing, then the world will match your self-concept. The doors will open. The people will show up. The path will reveal itself. Not because you chased it, but because you became it. Silence is not empty. It's full of power. In silence, you're not doing less. You're doing what matters most. You're planting the image. You're claiming the identity. You're choosing to be before anything appears. That is the secret. That is the key. So stop striving. Stop waiting for the outside to change before you allow yourself to believe. Change first in your imagination, in your assumption, in your quiet personal truth. The rest is inevitable. You win by becoming it first in silence, and then watching as the world rushes to agree. So now you understand. You were never meant to force, chase, or plead. Your real power has always lived in your stillness. It's in the quiet where identity is shaped, where imagination speaks, and where your entire world begins to take form. You win not by pushing, but by surrendering to the truth already within you. You don't move, don't write, don't beg, you listen, you become, and you receive. Let the world shout, let the mind race, but you remain still, because you now know the secret. Manifestation isn't about doing more. It's about becoming more, inwardly aligned with the self that already has it. Every vision, every desire, every whispered dream, it's already yours. Your only task is to believe it deeply enough that the world has no choice but to mirror it back to you. The life you're seeking is seeking you. Meet it in the silence. Thank you for listening, not just to these words, but to the deeper voice within you. May you walk forward not with striving, but with stillness. Not with fear, but with faith. You already are everything you seek. Let that truth guide you, silently, confidently, into the life that is waiting for you. The secret is stillness. The power is within. The time is now. Stop chasing. Start being. Your victory awaits in the silence.
My dear friends, as I stand before you this evening, I want you to consider something that will challenge the very foundation of how you understand relationships, separation, and individual identity. Look around this room. See all these faces, all these apparently separate beings, each with their own thoughts, their own problems, their own dreams. What if I told you that this appearance of separation is the greatest illusion ever perpetuated? What if I told you that there is only one consciousness in this room, appearing to be many? What if I told you that the person sitting next to you is not another person at all, but rather another aspect of the same infinite consciousness that you are? What if I told you that every face you see, every voice you hear, every mind you encounter is simply consciousness knowing itself through the mirror of apparent otherness? Tonight I want to share with you a truth so profound that once you truly understand it, you will never again feel alone, never again feel separate, never again feel that others are working against you. Tonight I want to reveal to you that you and I are one, not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally and absolutely one consciousness appearing as two. The revelation I'm about to share came to me in the most unexpected way. A gentleman approached me after a lecture last month, visibly agitated and frustrated. He said, "Neville, I've been practicing these teachings for years, but I can't seem to change how other people treat me. My wife still criticizes me, my boss still undermines me, my neighbors still annoy me. How can I manifest different people in my life?" I looked at this troubled man and realized he was asking the wrong question entirely. I said, "My friend, you cannot change other people because there are no other people. There is only one consciousness, your consciousness appearing to be many. Your wife's criticism is your own self-criticism made manifest. Your boss's undermining is your own self-doubt externalized. Your neighbor's annoying behavior is your own inner annoyance projected outward." He stared at me in confusion. "But Neville, I can clearly see that these are separate people with their own minds and wills. How can you say they're all me?" Because I replied, consciousness is one and indivisible. What appears as your consciousness and what appears as their consciousness is the same consciousness viewing itself from different angles. When you look in a mirror, you don't see another person, you see yourself. Everyone in your life is consciousness, showing you aspects of yourself through the mirror of apparent relationship. This man was skeptical, but he was desperate enough to try a radical experiment. I instructed him to spend 1 week treating every person in his life as if they were literally himself in disguise. When his wife criticized him, instead of defending himself, he asked, "What aspect of myself is this criticism reflecting?" When his boss undermined him, instead of feeling victimized, he examined what part of his own consciousness felt undermined. When his neighbors annoyed him, instead of blaming them, he looked for what within himself was feeling irritated. The results were extraordinary. Within days, the people around him began responding differently. His wife became more supportive, his boss more respectful, his neighbors more friendly. Had these people suddenly changed? No. His consciousness had shifted, and since they existed within his consciousness as reflections of his inner states, they had no choice but to reflect his new inner reality. You see, what we call other people are actually the characters in the dream of consciousness. When you change the dreamer, the dream characters must change accordingly. When you heal the projector, the images on the screen automatically transform. But this goes much deeper than simply changing how others treat you. This truth reveals the profound interconnectedness of all existence and your responsibility as the one consciousness appearing as many. Every person you meet is consciousness meeting itself. Every conversation you have is consciousness talking to itself. Every relationship you experience is consciousness exploring its own infinite nature through the drama of apparent separation and reunion. When you truly understand this, several remarkable things happen. First, you can never again feel truly alone, because you realize that every being you encounter is another face of your own eternal self. Second, you can never again feel victimized by others, because you understand that they are simply reflecting back to you your own inner states. Third, you can never again judge others harshly, because you realize that in judging them, you are judging yourself. Let me share with you a story that perfectly illustrates this principle. A woman came to see me who was consumed with hatred for her ex-husband. She said, "Neville, this man destroyed my life. He was cruel, selfish, and abusive. I cannot forgive him, and I don't want to forgive him. He deserves my hatred." I said to her, "My dear woman, the man you hate is yourself. The cruelty you see in him is the cruelty you fear within yourself. The selfishness you condemn in him is the selfishness you judge in yourself. The abuse you suffered from him is the abuse you inflict upon yourself through your own self-condemnation." She was outraged. "How dare you suggest that I am like him? I am nothing like that monster." "You're absolutely right," I replied. "You are nothing like the limited version of consciousness that appeared as your ex-husband, but he was also nothing like that limited version. Both of you are infinite consciousness temporarily playing roles in the drama of human experience. The role he played was designed to show you aspects of yourself that needed healing." I explained to her that her ex-husband was not her enemy, but her teacher. He was consciousness disguised as an adversary to help her discover her own power, her own worth, her own capacity for love despite apparent lovelessness. "But how can I forgive someone who hurt me so deeply?" she asked. "By realizing that there is no someone else to forgive," I replied. "There is only consciousness forgiving itself for temporarily forgetting its true loving nature. When you forgive him, you are forgiving the aspect of yourself that believed it was separate, limited, and capable of being truly harmed." This woman began the difficult but transformative work of seeing her ex-husband not as an enemy, but as an unconscious expression of the same consciousness that she was. She began to understand that his hurtful actions came from his own inner pain and confusion, just as her hatred came from hers. As she shifted from seeing him as other to seeing him as self, something miraculous happened. The hatred began to dissolve, not because she was forcing herself to forgive, but because she was recognizing the impossibility of hating herself forever. The pain began to heal, not because she was denying what happened, but because she was understanding its deeper purpose in the evolution of consciousness. Most remarkably, her ex-husband began to change. He started reaching out to apologize for his past behavior. He began making amends for the pain he had caused. He even started attending therapy to address his own issues. Had she changed him through some mystical power? No. She had changed her consciousness of him, and since he existed within her consciousness as a reflection of her inner state, he naturally began to reflect her new understanding. This is the great secret of human relationships. Everyone in your life is you, pushed out. Your spouse is you in the role of partner. Your children are you in the role of offspring. Your parents are you in the role of authority. Your friends are you in the role of companion. Your enemies are you in the role of adversary. Each person represents an aspect of your own consciousness that you are either embracing or rejecting, loving or fearing, accepting or denying. When you heal your relationship with any aspect of yourself, the outer person who represents that aspect must change to reflect your new inner relationship. But this understanding also reveals your profound responsibility. If everyone in your life is you, then every act of love or hatred you express toward another is an act of love or hatred toward yourself. Every word of encouragement or discouragement you speak to another is a word you speak to yourself. Every thought of appreciation or criticism you have about another is a thought you have about yourself. This is why Jesus taught, love your neighbor as yourself. Not because your neighbor is like yourself, but because your neighbor is yourself, appearing in a different form. When you love another, you literally love yourself. When you hate another, you literally hate yourself. Let me tell you about a man who discovered this truth in the most profound way possible. He came to me consumed with envy and resentment toward a colleague who had achieved the success he desperately wanted. This colleague had the career, the recognition, the income that he felt should have been his. Neville, he said, I hate watching this man succeed while I struggle. It's not fair. He doesn't deserve what he has. I work just as hard, I'm just as talented, but he gets all the breaks while I get nothing. I said to him, this man is not your competitor. He is your teacher. He is not your enemy. He is your mirror. He is showing you your own potential for success by demonstrating it in physical form. Instead of resenting him, you should thank him for showing you what's possible for yourself. But how can I be grateful to someone who has what I want? He asked. By recognizing that he is you, the successful version of you. I replied. Consciousness is showing you your own capabilities through his achievements. Instead of feeling separate from his success, claim it as evidence of your own potential. Instead of competing with him, learn from him. Instead of envying him, become him. This was a radical shift in perspective for this man. Instead of seeing his colleague as other, he began to see him as self, specifically as the version of himself that had already achieved success. Instead of feeling competitive, he began to feel curious about how this version of himself had managed to manifest such achievement. He started studying his colleagues' habits, attitudes, and approaches, not to copy them, but to understand how consciousness creates success through individual expression. He began to see his colleagues' achievements not as evidence that success was being withheld from him, but as proof that success was possible for him. As he made this shift from separation to identification, something remarkable happened. Instead of being competitors, they became collaborators. His colleague began mentoring him, sharing opportunities with him, even recommending him for positions. The success that had seemed to belong exclusively to another began to manifest in his own experience. This is the power of recognizing oneness. What appears to belong to another is actually yours when you stop seeing another and start seeing self. But perhaps the most profound application of this truth is in intimate relationships. When you understand that your romantic partner is literally yourself in disguise, the entire dynamic of relationship transforms. Most people approach relationships from a position of need and lack. They look to their partner to complete them, to give them what they feel they're missing, to love them in ways they don't love themselves. But when you realize that your partner is you, you understand that any lack you feel they're not filling is actually a lack you're not filling within yourself. A couple came to see me whose marriage was on the verge of divorce. The wife complained, "He never listens to me, never appreciates me, never shows me affection." The husband complained, "She's always criticizing me, always demanding more from me, never satisfied with anything I do." I said to them, "You are both describing yourselves to yourselves. You, madam, are experiencing your own inner dialogue of feeling unheard and unappreciated. And you, sir, are experiencing your own inner critic that is never satisfied with your efforts." They looked at me in confusion. So I continued, "Your spouse is your own consciousness reflected back to you. The way they treat you is the way you treat yourself. The love they show you is the love you show yourself. The criticism they express is the criticism you express toward yourself." I gave them an assignment that completely transformed their relationship. For 1 month, they were to focus not on changing their spouse, but on changing their relationship with themselves. The wife was to practice listening to herself, appreciating herself, and showing herself affection. The husband was to practice stopping his inner critic, accepting himself, and acknowledging his own efforts. The results were miraculous. As the wife began to truly listen to her own inner voice and appreciate her own worth, her husband naturally began to listen to her more and show her greater appreciation. As the husband began to silence his inner critic and accept himself, his wife naturally became less critical and more accepting of him. They had discovered the great secret of relationships. You cannot get from another what you don't give to yourself, because the other is yourself. This truth extends beyond personal relationships to your relationship with all of humanity. When you understand that you and everyone else are one consciousness appearing as many, you realize that the healing of the world begins with the healing of your own consciousness. Every act of love you perform for another is an act of love performed for yourself. Every contribution you make to another's well-being is a contribution to your own well-being. Every blessing you extend to another is a blessing you extend to yourself. But equally, every act of harm you commit against another is an act of harm against yourself. Every judgment you make about another is a judgment about yourself. Every limitation you place on another is a limitation you place on yourself. This is why the Golden Rule is not just a moral guideline. It's a statement of metaphysical fact. You should treat others as you would want to be treated, because others are you, experiencing themselves through different individual expressions. When you truly embody this understanding, your entire experience of life transforms. You stop feeling like a separate individual struggling against a hostile world, and start feeling like consciousness itself, exploring its own infinite nature through countless individual expressions. You stop trying to get love from others and start being the love that you are. You stop seeking approval from others and start giving yourself the approval you seek. You stop waiting for others to change and start being the change you want to see. But most importantly, you stop feeling alone. How can you feel alone when everyone you meet is another face of your own eternal self? How can you feel unloved when every being you encounter is love itself in disguise? How can you feel separate when separation is literally impossible in a universe where consciousness is one and indivisible? So tonight I want you to begin a great experiment. For the next week, treat every person you encounter as if they were literally yourself in disguise. When someone is kind to you, receive it as yourself being kind to yourself. When someone is difficult with you, see it as an aspect of yourself that needs healing. When someone succeeds, celebrate it as your own success. When someone struggles, extend to them the compassion you would want for yourself. Watch what happens when you stop believing in other people and start recognizing other selves. Watch how your relationships transform when you shift from separation to identification. Watch how your experience of love expands when you realize that every being you love is literally yourself loving yourself. You and I are one. You and everyone are one. There is only one consciousness in this universe, and you are it, I am it, everyone is it. We are all waves in the same ocean, rays from the same sun, thoughts in the same infinite mind. The search for love ends when you realize that everyone is love itself appearing in individual form. The fear of abandonment dissolves when you understand that you can never be separate from your own eternal self. The experience of loneliness becomes impossible when you recognize that solitude is simply consciousness enjoying its own perfect company. You and I are one. Not as a beautiful ideal, but as an absolute reality. Not as something to achieve, but as something to recognize. Not as a future possibility, but as an eternal fact that has always been true and always will be true. The only question is, will you continue to play the game of separation, or will you awaken to the truth of your eternal oneness with all that is? You and I are one. Not as a beautiful ideal, but as an absolute reality. Not as something to achieve, but as something to recognize. Not as a future possibility, but as an eternal fact that has always been true and always will be true. The only question is, will you continue to play the game of separation, or will you awaken to the truth of your eternal oneness with all that is? This is Best of Lectures. As always, thank you for joining me. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. Listen carefully. What I'm about to show you will change everything you think you know about changing your life. You've been trying to become someone new. You've been working on your self-concept, building confidence, affirming who you want to be. You visualize. You repeat affirmations. You live in the end. And it's exhausting. Because you're trying to convince yourself you're someone different while still remembering everything that made you who you are. Every failure, every rejection, every moment you weren't enough, every time someone told you that you couldn't, every disappointment, every setback, every time you tried and it didn't work. You're carrying all of it, and you're trying to become someone new while dragging this entire history behind you like chains. It doesn't work. You can't build a new identity on top of an old foundation. The old stories are too heavy. The old evidence is too convincing. The old memories are too vivid. The old version of you keeps pulling you back because you remember being them. You remember being shy. So becoming confident feels like climbing a mountain. You remember struggling with money. So becoming abundant feels impossible. You remember being rejected. So believing you're loved feels like a lie. The past is always there, whispering, but you're not really that person. Remember who you actually are. Remember what really happened. Remember how things really went. And you believe it, because you do remember. And the memories feel more real than the new identity you're trying to claim. So here's what you're going to do instead. Close your eyes right now. I'm serious. Close them. Now I want you to imagine that you just woke up. But something's different. You have no memory of who you were. Complete amnesia. You can't remember your past. All of it, every single memory that formed your identity. Gone, erased, disappeared. You're sitting here right now with a completely blank internal slate. No history, no story, no identity from the past, weighing you down or propping you up. No reference points, no evidence, no proof of who you've been. Just nothing. A clean, empty, open space where your identity used to be. And in this space, someone walks up to you. Maybe it's a doctor. Maybe it's a friend you don't remember. Maybe it's just a stranger. And they ask you the simplest question in the world. Who are you? And you realize you have no idea. You can't pull from your past because you don't have one. You can't reference your history because it's gone. You can't say, well, I've always been this way, because you don't remember always. You can't say, people have told me I'm like this, because you don't remember people or what they said. You have absolutely nothing to pull from except this present moment, right here, right now, with complete freedom. So you get to decide, not based on evidence, not based on proof, not based on what happened before, but based purely on choice in this exact moment. Who are you? Stay with me here, because this is where it gets profound. When you have no memory, when you have no past, when you have no story, you realize something shocking. Identity is a choice, not a fact, not a reality, a choice. Without your memories, you're not anything. You're pure potential, pure possibility, a blank canvas, an empty page. And whoever you decide to be in that moment, that's who you are. Not because you built it, not because you earned it, not because you have evidence, but because you chose it. Let me ask you again. You have complete memory loss. No past, no history, no story. And someone asks, who are you? Are you confident? Then you're confident. That's just who you are. You don't need to remember moments of confidence to be confident. You don't need proof. You don't need evidence. You just are. Are you wealthy? Then you're wealthy. You don't need to remember earning money. You don't need to trace the path from poor to rich. You don't need to justify it or explain it. You just are. Are you loved? Then you're loved. You don't need to remember people loving you. You don't need to reference past relationships. You don't need proof that anyone cares. You just are. Are you successful, powerful, peaceful, healthy, free, beautiful, worthy, enough? Then you are, right now, in this moment, because you have no past telling you otherwise. You have no memories contradicting you. You have no story arguing against you. You just are. This is the power of complete forgetting. You're not building a new identity on top of the old one. You're wiping the slate completely clean and choosing who you are from absolute nothing. And the person you choose to be, that's real. That's true. That's you. Not because of what you've done or what's happened or what people have said, but because you decided. Here's what I need you to understand. That past, it only has power because you keep giving it power. It only defines you because you keep letting it define you. Every time you say, I'm not confident because I remember being shy, you're choosing your past over your present. Every time you say, I can't be wealthy because I've always struggled, you're letting old memories override your current choice. Every time you say, I'm not lovable because I remember being rejected, you're making the past more real than the now. But what if you stopped doing that? What if you treated your past like it happened to someone else? What if you looked at your memories the way you'd look at someone else's story, interesting but not relevant to who you are right now? Because here's the truth that will set you free. Your past doesn't determine your identity unless you let it. Your history doesn't define who you are unless you choose to let it define you. Your memories don't control your present unless you give them that control. You could right now in this moment forget all of it. Not literally erase the memories, but forget them in the sense of releasing their grip on your identity. Forget them in the sense of no longer letting them vote on who you are. You could decide that who you were yesterday, last week, last year, 10 years ago, that person is gone. That story is over. That version of you is finished. And right now you're someone completely different. Not because you slowly transformed. Not because you worked hard to change. But because you simply forgot the old identity and chose a new one. Let me show you what you've been doing your whole life without realizing it. You wake up every morning, and before you even open your eyes fully, you remember who you are. You remember your name, you remember your life, you remember your struggles and your victories. You remember how you are, what you're like, what you can and can't do. And in remembering all of this, you step back into the identity you had yesterday. You put on the same personality like putting on the same clothes. You become the same person again. Then throughout your day, you reinforce this identity constantly. You think thoughts that match who you remember being. You make decisions based on who you've always been. You react to situations the way you've always reacted. You speak the way you've always spoken. And every time you do this, you strengthen the identity. You make it more solid, more real, more you. But here's what's wild. That identity, it's not you. It's a story, a collection of selected memories that you've decided to call me. You chose which experiences to remember, which to emphasize, which to let define you. You constructed this identity piece by piece, memory by memory, experience by experience. And now you're trapped in it. Because you keep remembering it. You keep referencing it. You keep going back to it. You want to be confident, but you keep remembering being shy. You want to be wealthy, but you keep remembering struggling. You want to be loved, but you keep remembering rejection. The new identity can't take hold because you won't let go of the old one. You're trying to be two people at once, and it's tearing you apart. So, here's what you're going to do instead. You're going to practice selective forgetting, strategic amnesia, deliberate memory loss. Every morning when you wake up, before you think about your day, before you step back into who you were yesterday, you're going to take a moment to forget. Close your eyes, take a breath, and imagine that overnight while you were sleeping, all your memories of who you've been just dissolved, evaporated, disappeared. You don't remember being insecure. Gone. You don't remember struggling. Erased. You don't remember being rejected. Vanished. You don't remember failing. Deleted. All the memories that formed your old identity. They're just not there anymore. Like they happened to someone else in another life. Or like they never happened at all. And in this space of complete forgetfulness, you ask yourself, who am I? Not who was I? Not who have I been? Who am I right now in this moment? With no past to reference. And you choose freely, completely, with no guilt, no doubt, no contradiction. I am confident. Say it, feel it, know it. Not as something you're becoming. Not as something you're trying to convince yourself of, but a simple truth. You are confident. That's just who you are. No story needed. I am wealthy. Say it, feel it, know it. You don't need to remember being wealthy. You don't need to trace the path. You just are, right now. Present tense, current reality. I am loved. Say it, feel it, know it. You don't need proof. You don't need evidence. You don't need anyone's validation. You just are. Whatever identity you desire, claim it. Not as future, not as hope, but as present fact. Because you've forgotten everything that said you weren't. Spend time just being this person. No history, no proof, no story, no justification. Pure identity, pure being, pure choice. Here's what makes this so powerful. When you truly forget who you were, you don't need proof of who you are. You just are. Think about it. Someone with real memory loss doesn't say, I think I might be confident, but let me check my past to see if there's evidence. They can't check their past. It's gone. So whatever they feel themselves to be in the present moment, that's what they are. No verification needed. This is the consciousness you're cultivating. You're not building an identity on past achievements. You're not waiting for evidence to confirm who you are. You're not looking for proof in your history. You're simply choosing who you are right now, and that choice is enough. Complete, total, final. No proof needed, no evidence required, no history necessary. Just pure present moment identity chosen from complete forgetfulness of everything that said you were anything else. And when you claim identity this way, from nothing, from emptiness, from pure choice, it's unshakable, because there's no past to contradict it. No memory to argue with it, no story to undermine it. You just are. And that's that. Now let me take you even deeper, because there's a level of forgetting that most people never reach. A level that completely transforms how you experience reality. You're not just forgetting who you were. You're forgetting that you ever needed to become anything. Most people approach identity change like this. I am this now, but I want to become that. They acknowledge their current state and then try to get to a new state. They see themselves on a journey from lack to fulfillment, from limitation to freedom, from unworthiness to worthiness. But when you forget completely, you realize there is no journey, there is no becoming, there is no gap between who you are and who you want to be. There's only choosing right now, in this moment, with complete amnesia about any state other than the one you're selecting. You don't remember ever being unconfident, so you're not becoming confident, you just are confident. You don't remember ever lacking, so you're not becoming abundant. You just are abundant. You don't remember ever being unloved, so you're not becoming loved. You just are loved. The entire concept of transformation dissolves when you forget, because transformation implies movement from one state to another. But if you have no memory of the first state, there's no movement. There's just being. This is the deepest level of forgetting. Forgetting not just your past identity, but forgetting that you were ever anything other than what you choose to be right now. And from this place of complete forgetfulness, identity becomes instantaneous. Not a process, not a journey, not a gradual shift. Instant, immediate. Now, here's a practice that will deepen this even further. Throughout your day-to-day, act as if you just arrived in your life, like you just woke up in this body, in this situation, with no memory of how you got here. You look around and you see your apartment, your job, your relationships, your bank account, your body, and you have no idea how any of it came to be. You don't remember the choices that led here. You don't remember the past that created this present. You're just here, now, with complete forgetfulness of the journey. And from this place of complete newness, you ask yourself, how do I want to respond to this situation as the person I am now? Not how have I always responded? Not what does my past say I should do, but who am I right now, and how does this version of me move through this moment? Someone at work treats you poorly. Normally you might remember past instances of this, might recall your history of being walked over, might respond from the identity of someone who accepts mistreatment. But you've forgotten. You don't remember being that person. So you respond as who you are now, confident, worthy, clear about your boundaries. Not because you worked up the courage, but because you forgot you were ever anything else. You check your bank account and see a number that would normally trigger lack consciousness. But you've forgotten scarcity. You don't remember struggling. So you look at the number with complete neutrality and choose, I am abundant. This number is irrelevant to who I am. You wake up alone and would normally feel the weight of loneliness, the memory of rejection, the story of being unwanted. But you've forgotten all of it. So you wake up as someone who is loved, who is wanted, who is chosen, regardless of who's physically in the bed. Every moment becomes a fresh start. Every interaction becomes a new choice. Every experience becomes an opportunity to forget and choose again. This practice, this constant forgetting and choosing, gives you something most people never experience in their entire lives. Complete freedom from your past. You're not a prisoner of your history. You're not defined by your experiences. You're not limited by who you've been. You're not trapped in patterns that have repeated for years or decades. Every single moment you forget. Every single moment you choose fresh. Every single moment you are whoever you decide to be with no reference to anything that came before. This is power. Real power. Not the power to control others or circumstances, but the power to choose your own identity independent of anything external. You're not at the mercy of your memories. You're not controlled by your past. You're not determined by your conditioning. You're free. Completely, totally, absolutely free. Free to be confident even though you were shy. Free to be abundant even though you struggled. Free to be loved even though you were rejected. Free to be powerful even though you were weak. Free to be successful even though you failed. Because you forgot. And in forgetting you became unlimited. The limitations were just memories you kept reinforcing. The unworthiness was just a story you kept telling. The lack was just an identity you kept choosing. Now you're choosing differently. By forgetting completely and being fully. This is your power. This is your freedom. This is your truth. You're not becoming someone new. You're forgetting you were ever anyone old. And in that forgetting, you're discovering who you've always been, beneath all the stories, beneath all the memories, beneath all the conditioning. Pure consciousness. Pure being. Pure unlimited potential. Now go forget. And in forgetting, become everything you've always known you could be. The rest of your life starts now. And remember, you don't need to remember anything to be everything. In fact, the less you remember, the more you become. So forget completely, radically, constantly. And watch as your entire reality shifts to match the person you choose to be right now, in this moment, with no past to contradict you. This is who you are. This has always been who you are. You just forgot to forget. Now you know. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
My beautiful friends, what I'm about to share with you tonight will not only challenge everything you thought you knew about how reality works, it will give you hope in a way you may have forgotten was possible. Hidden within the fabric of consciousness itself lies a secret so profound, so immediate in its power, that 17 seconds, just 17 heartbeats, can become the bridge between the life you're living and the life your soul has been crying out for. This isn't theory. This isn't wishful thinking. This is a precise spiritual technology that operates according to laws as reliable as gravity itself. And tonight, you're going to discover exactly how to use it. But first, let me ask you something from my heart to yours. Have you ever had a moment, maybe just a fleeting second, where you felt so absolutely certain about something beautiful that hadn't happened yet? A moment where every cell in your body knew, beyond any shadow of doubt, that what you desired was already yours. If you have, then you've already glimpsed the miracle I'm talking about. You've already touched the edge of this 17-second gateway to everything your heart has ever wanted. Imagine, if you will, that all around you right now exists a field of pure potential. Every possible version of your life, every dream you've ever dared to dream, every solution to every problem you've ever faced, all of it exists right here, right now, in what quantum physicists call the field of infinite possibilities. Most people spend their entire lives unaware of this field, trapped in what I call the prison of circumstances, believing that what they see, hear, and touch is all there is. They've been taught to accept lack, to settle for less, to believe that their dreams are too big, too impossible, too much to ask for. But you, by the very fact that you're here tonight, seeking this knowledge, refusing to give up on your dreams, you're different. You sense there's more. Your soul knows there's a deeper game being played, and you're ready to step up and play it. The 17-second method is your key to this field. It's your access code to the quantum realm, where miracles are not only possible, they're inevitable. Now here's something that will astound you. Neuroscientists have discovered that when you maintain a coherent thought or feeling for exactly 17 seconds, something extraordinary happens in your brain. Your neural networks begin to fire in harmony. Your brain waves synchronize into what they call gamma coherence, the same state experienced by Tibetan monks during deep meditation, the same state reported by mystics throughout history during moments of divine revelation. But here's the part that will truly amaze you. In this state, your brain becomes a powerful electromagnetic transmitter. You're literally broadcasting your thoughts and feelings into the quantum field. And according to the fundamental laws of quantum mechanics, the field must respond. It has no choice. Think about this for a moment. The ancient masters spoke of this power thousands of years ago. They called it prayer, or manifestation, or the power of faith. Now modern science is confirming what they knew all along. Consciousness isn't produced by the brain. Consciousness uses the brain as a transmitting device. My dear friends, what I'm about to share with you isn't just a technique. It's a love letter from the universe to your heart. It's your personal invitation to step into the life you've been dreaming of, the life that's been waiting patiently for you to claim it. I know some of you listening tonight are carrying heavy hearts. Perhaps you've been struggling financially, watching others prosper while you barely make ends meet. Maybe you're lying awake at night, wondering if you'll ever find someone who truly understands and cherishes you. Perhaps you're battling illness, feeling betrayed by your own body, or maybe you're simply tired of dreams deferred, tired of hopes that seem to lead nowhere, tired of feeling powerless in your own life. If any of this resonates with you, I want you to know you are not alone, and you are not forgotten. The universe hasn't abandoned you. Your dreams aren't foolish. Your desires aren't too big. What you're about to learn can change everything. Not someday, but starting tonight. Step 1. Creating your sacred space. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine with me. Picture in your mind a beautiful sacred space. Perhaps a garden where everything blooms in perfect harmony, or a cozy room filled with golden light, or maybe a peaceful lakeside where the water reflects infinite possibilities. This is your sacred space, and it exists beyond the reach of bills, beyond the sting of rejection, beyond the fear of illness, beyond every limitation that has ever made you feel small. In this sacred space, miracles aren't rare, they're the natural order of things. In this space, your worthiness isn't questioned, it's celebrated. Here, your dreams aren't too big, They're exactly the right size for the magnificent soul that you are. Take a deep breath and feel yourself entering this space now. Feel the peace washing over you. Feel the love that surrounds you. This is where your 17 seconds will unfold. Step 2, awakening the feeling. Now, my beautiful friend, we come to the heart of everything. Forget what you've been taught about visualization. Forget trying to create perfect mental movies. The secret, the most precious secret, is feeling, but not just any feeling. The exact feeling you would have if your deepest desire were your reality right now, in this very moment. If you're struggling with money, I want you to feel something beautiful. Feel the deep exhale of relief when you truly know that you're provided for. Feel the lightness in your chest when financial stress dissolves. Feel the joy of being able to help someone you love, the warmth of generosity flowing through you like sunshine. Let tears of gratitude fill your eyes as you feel what it's like to sleep peacefully, knowing tomorrow is taken care of. If your heart aches for love, don't focus on finding someone. Instead, feel yourself as deeply, completely cherished. Feel arms that hold you with such tenderness that every lonely night you've ever endured suddenly makes sense. It was all leading to this moment, this love, this perfect recognition of your worth. Feel the laughter bubbling up from deep within as you experience the joy of loving and being loved without condition. If illness has made your body feel like a stranger, feel into the miracle of perfect health. Feel energy coursing through every cell. Feel your body as a trusted friend again. Feel the confidence that comes with a body that serves you beautifully. The gratitude for breath that flows freely, for movement that brings joy instead of pain. Whatever your heart desires most, feel it as if it's happening right now. Not as a memory of the past or a hope for the future, but as your present reality. Let this feeling fill you so completely that you forget, just for these precious moments, that there was ever a time when you didn't have this. Step 3, the 17 sacred seconds. Here we are, my dear ones. This is your moment. This is where ordinary life transforms into extraordinary possibility. With your heart full of the feeling of your wish fulfilled, begin your journey through these 17 sacred heartbeats. Allow yourself to settle into this beautiful feeling, like sinking into the warmest, most comfortable embrace you've ever known. Breathe deeply and feel this reality washing over you like gentle waves of pure love. You're not pretending anymore, my dear friend. This is your life, and every cell in your being is recognizing this truth and celebrating it. Let yourself sink even deeper into this knowing, feeling how perfectly natural it is for you to have everything your heart desires. Allow gratitude to flow through you like honey through your veins, sweet and golden and nourishing. You are living your dream right now, in this very moment, and it feels so right, so perfect, so absolutely meant to be. Feel how you belong here, in this space of fulfillment and joy. This is what you were born for. This is your natural state of being. Notice how beautifully this fits you, how natural this feels, like putting on clothes that were tailored just for your soul. Let any whisper of doubt melt away like snow in warm sunshine, because you are worthy of this, and so much more than you've ever dared to imagine. Feel the infinite love the universe has for you, wrapping around you like the softest blanket of light. You are not asking any more. You are receiving with open arms and an open heart. This is your birthright, beautiful soul, so claim it with joy and confidence. Feel the magnificent power of your own consciousness, creating this reality. Feel yourself as the artist painting this masterpiece of your life. This is yours, completely and forever yours, sealed with the love of the universe itself. In these 17 seconds, something sacred happens. You're not the person who wants anymore. You're the person who has. You're not the person who hopes. You're the person who knows. You're not the person who struggles. You're the person who flourishes. Feel this transformation in every fiber of your being. Let it move you to tears if it wants to. Let it make you smile like you haven't smiled in years. Let it fill you with such peace, such certainty, such overwhelming gratitude that you know, beyond any shadow of doubt, that your life is about to change. And here's where the real magic begins. If you can extend that feeling to 34 seconds, just 17 seconds more, the momentum doubles. The quantum field receives an even stronger signal. Your brain creates even deeper neural pathways. You're literally rewiring your consciousness for success. At 68 seconds, the power quadruples. You're now generating what scientists call sustained gamma coherence, a state so powerful that it begins to influence not just your own quantum field, but the quantum field around you. And if you can reach 136 seconds, just over 2 minutes, something miraculous occurs. You create what I call quantum momentum. At this point, your manifestation isn't just probable, it becomes inevitable. The universe literally cannot help but respond to the signal you're broadcasting. Now you might wonder, why 17 seconds specifically? Why not 15 or 20? The answer lies in the deepest mysteries of consciousness itself. 17 seconds is the exact amount of time required for a thought to move from the realm of pure possibility into the realm of probability. It's the gestation period of manifestation. Think of it as the amount of time needed for a seed of consciousness to take root in the quantum field. Ancient wisdom traditions understood this. The Kabbalah speaks of the 17 paths of wisdom. Hindu scriptures mention the 17 breaths of creation. Indigenous shamans talk about the 17 heartbeats of transformation. They all intuited what modern science is now proving. 17 is the sacred number of manifestation. Now I must address something that will inevitably arise in your mind. Doubt. As you practice this method, your rational mind will protest. It will say, this is impossible. This is just wishful thinking. Where's the evidence? This is what I call the doubt barrier. And every conscious creator must learn to transcend it. Doubt isn't your enemy. It's simply the voice of your conditioned mind, the part of you that's been programmed to believe only in limitations. When doubt arises during your 17 seconds, don't fight it. Simply acknowledge it with compassion. Thank you, doubt, for trying to protect me. But I choose to explore what's possible beyond your boundaries. Then gently return to your feeling of the wish fulfilled. Remember, every great achievement in human history required someone to move beyond the doubt barrier. The Wright brothers doubted that humans could fly, until they didn't. Einstein doubted that time and space were relative, until he didn't. You have that same power to transcend doubt and step into the impossible. Here's something beautiful that will happen as you practice this method consistently. What I call the acceleration effect. The more you successfully hold the feeling of your wish fulfilled for 17 seconds, the easier it becomes. Your brain literally develops new neural pathways that make manifestation more natural. It's like building a muscle. The first time you try to hold that feeling for 17 seconds, it might feel awkward, forced. Your mind might wander. That's perfectly normal. But each time you practice, you're strengthening your manifestation muscle. You're becoming a more powerful conscious creator. Within a week of daily practice, you'll notice that 17 seconds feels effortless. Within a month, extending to 68 seconds becomes natural. Within 3 months, you'll discover that you can slip into manifestation consciousness at will, anywhere, anytime. And here's perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this work. As you change your inner state through these 17-second practices, your outer world begins to reshape itself in ways that will astound you. Opportunities that were always there suddenly become visible. People who can help you with your desires mysteriously appear in your life. Resources you need become available. Synchronicities multiply. It's as if the entire universe is conspiring to help you achieve your desires. But understand this clearly. The universe isn't changing for you. You're changing your frequency, your vibration, your quantum signature, and therefore you're perceiving and attracting a different version of the universe. One that was always there, waiting for you to tune into it. Once you've mastered the basic 17-second method, there are several advanced techniques that can amplify your power exponentially. Number 1, the gratitude amplifier. Before beginning your 17 seconds, spend a moment in deep gratitude for something you already have. This raises your vibrational frequency and makes your manifestation signal even more powerful. Number 2, the identity shift. Instead of focusing on having what you want, focus on being the kind of person who naturally possesses what you desire. This creates deeper, more lasting transformation. Number 3. The present moment portal. Practice your 17 seconds as if your desire is happening right now in this very moment. The quantum field exists only in the eternal now, so this technique creates the most direct connection. Number 4. The sensory immersion. Engage all your senses in your 17 seconds. What would you see, hear, feel, smell, even taste if your desire were your reality right now? The more senses you involve, the more real it becomes to your subconscious mind. There's one quality that separates successful manifestors from unsuccessful ones. Certainty. Not hope, not belief, not faith, but absolute, unshakable certainty. When you can feel certain about something that hasn't happened yet, when you can be as confident in your unseen desire as you are in the chair you're sitting on, then you've accessed the deepest level of manifestation power. This certainty isn't based on evidence, it's based on knowing. It's the same knowing that tells you the sun will rise tomorrow, that your heart will beat again in the next moment. It's beyond logic, beyond proof. It simply is. During your 17 seconds, cultivate this certainty. Feel it in your bones. Let it permeate every cell of your being. This is your desire's reality. This is your truth. This is what is. My friends, you stand at a crossroads tonight. Behind you lies the old way of living. Hoping, wishing, struggling against circumstances, feeling powerless. Ahead of you lies a new way of being, consciously creating, deliberately manifesting, living as the master of your fate. The bridge between these two realities is 17 seconds. Just 17 seconds of pure, focused feeling. 17 seconds of living in the end result. 17 seconds of being the person you desire to become. The choice is yours. You can listen to these words and let them fade into mere memory, or you can take this knowledge and transform it into wisdom through practice. You can become living proof that consciousness is the only reality, that imagination is the creative power of the universe itself. Tonight, before you close your eyes to sleep, I want you to make a sacred promise to yourself. Choose one desire, just one beautiful, important desire, that would genuinely transform your life, or touch the lives of those you love with joy. Maybe it's freedom from the financial stress that keeps you awake at night. Maybe it's the healing your body has been waiting for. Maybe it's finding someone who sees the real you and loves every part of what they find. Maybe it's the creative breakthrough that's been calling to your soul. Whatever it is, choose it with love. Choose it with hope. Choose it knowing that the universe is conspiring in your favor. Create your sacred space. Feel yourself surrounded by infinite love and possibility. Establish your feeling tone. Not the feeling of wanting, but the feeling of having, of being, of celebrating what is already yours in the realm of consciousness. Begin your 17-second journey. And as you count those precious moments, remember that you're not just practicing a technique. You're exercising your divine birthright as a conscious creator. You're stepping into the truth of who you really are. Feel what it would feel like if this desire were already fulfilled. Not tomorrow, not next week, not someday, right now, in this eternal moment, where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Let that feeling wash over you, like the most beautiful music you've ever heard. Let it fill you so completely that there's no room for doubt, no space for fear, no possibility that this isn't already yours. I make you this sacred promise. If you practice this method faithfully, if you give it the love and dedication it deserves, your life will begin to transform in ways that will move you to tears of gratitude. What seems impossible today will become your joyful reality tomorrow. What feels like a distant dream will become the life you wake up to every morning. The 17-second method isn't just a manifestation technique. It's a love song between you and the universe. It's your personal invitation to step into the fullness of who you really are, a magnificent, powerful, beloved co-creator of reality itself. The moment has come to stop living as someone who wishes and start living as someone who receives. The moment has come to stop asking, what if I'm not worthy? And start declaring, I am worthy of all the love, abundance, and joy the universe has to offer. Your 17 seconds of pure magic await you. Your new reality is just one focused, loving feeling away. The universe is not only listening, it's celebrating your decision to claim what has always been yours. The quantum field isn't just responsive. It's excited to deliver your desires. Your consciousness isn't just ready. It's rejoicing in its own creative power. This isn't about whether you deserve it. You do. This isn't about whether you're good enough. You are. This isn't about whether it's possible. It is. The only question that remains is what beautiful reality will you choose to create? Your transformation doesn't begin tomorrow. It doesn't begin next week. It begins with your next breath, with your next heartbeat, with your next choice to believe in the magnificent possibility of your dreams. Feel the excitement building in your chest. Feel the hope returning to your heart. Feel the power awakening in your consciousness. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your beautiful beginning. The time is now. Your power is real. Your desires are not just possible, they're inevitable. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and begin your journey into everything you've ever wanted. You are loved. You are worthy. You are ready. Begin. My dear friend, come closer and let me share with you the most profound secret I have ever discovered. A secret that has the power to transform not just your financial circumstances, but your entire experience of life itself. What I'm about to reveal to you is not theory, not philosophy, not mere inspiration. It is the fundamental law by which all human experience is created. The world around you right now, your current financial state, your circumstances, your limitations. These are not permanent fixtures of reality carved in stone by some external force. They are simply the hardened impressions of your past assumptions, crystallized into what you call your facts. But here's what most people never realize. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the author of them. Let me begin by destroying the greatest illusion that keeps humanity in bondage. The belief that you are separate from your circumstances, that you are at the mercy of external forces, that wealth is something outside of you that must be pursued, captured, and hoarded. This is the lie that has kept generations trapped in cycles of struggle and limitation. The truth is far more magnificent and far more empowering. You and your circumstances are one. You and your wealth are one. You and your abundance are one. Everything you see in your outer world is the faithful reproduction of states of consciousness you have entertained. Your bank account is not separate from your consciousness. It is your consciousness made visible. Your opportunities are not independent of your inner state. They are your inner state taking form in the world of appearances. This means that to change your outer world, you must first change your inner world. To transform your circumstances, you must first transform your consciousness. To experience wealth, you must first become wealthy in mind and feeling. Listen carefully, my friend, because this will revolutionize how you see yourself and your relationship with wealth. Everything you experience in your outer world is first born in the invisible realm of consciousness. Your current bank account, your current opportunities, your current limitations, all of these began as assumptions in your mind. When I speak of assumptions, I'm not talking about positive thinking or wishful hoping. I'm not speaking of affirmations repeated without feeling or visualizations performed without conviction. I'm speaking of something far more powerful, the art of living from your desired end, of assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not as something you hope to achieve, but as something that already is. Most people approach wealth backward. They say, when I have the money, then I'll feel wealthy. When I see the bank account, then I'll believe in abundance. When the circumstances change, then I'll change my assumption. But I tell you this fundamental truth. You must first become wealthy in consciousness before wealth can manifest in your experience. The outer world is always the result of the inner world, never the cause of it. Think of it this way. If you wanted to see a beautiful sunrise, would you paint the sunrise on your window and expect the sun to rise. Of course not. The sunrise exists independently of your window. Your window merely reflects what already is. In the same way, your outer circumstances are merely the window through which your inner state is reflected back to you. Your imagination, my dear friend, is not mere fantasy. It is the very workshop of creation itself. It is the divine faculty through which the unseen becomes seen. The impossible becomes possible. The desired becomes actual. Every fortune that has ever been built was first constructed in someone's imagination. Every empire, every breakthrough, every transformation began as an imaginal act. Before Carnegie built his steel empire, he built it in his mind. Before Disney created his magical kingdom, he walked through its gates in his imagination. Before Ford revolutionized transportation, he saw the vision of every man owning an automobile. But here's where most people stumble catastrophically. They use their imagination to rehearse their problems instead of their promises. They lie in bed at night imagining their bills, their struggles, their fear. They replay conversations that went poorly, scenarios that frighten them, outcomes they dread. And then they wonder why these very things persist and multiply in their experience. Your imagination is like a fertile garden. Whatever seeds you plant in it will grow. If you plant seeds of lack, struggle, and limitation, that is what will grow in your experience. If you plant seeds of abundance, prosperity, and wealth, that is what will flourish in your world. I'm asking you to make a radical shift. Tonight, when you close your eyes, don't count your problems, count your blessings that haven't yet appeared. Feel yourself already living from the state you desire. Walk through the rooms of your imagined success. Feel the weight of prosperity in your hands. Hear the sounds of your fulfilled life. Make your imagination your ally, not your enemy. Use it to build the life you want, not to reinforce the life you don't want. Here's something I learned that changed my entire relationship with wealth. And it will change yours too. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. More precisely, you attract what you assume yourself to be. This is why affirmations often fail. Why vision boards collect dust. Why goal setting frequently leads to disappointment. These techniques focus on what you want to have or want to do, but they don't address the fundamental question: who do you assume yourself to be? If you assume yourself to be a person who struggles with money, who finds it hard to make ends meet, who believes that money doesn't grow on trees and you have to work hard for every dollar, then no matter how many affirmations you repeat or how many vision boards you create, struggle will be your experience. But if you assume yourself to be naturally prosperous, inherently valuable, and abundantly blessed, then circumstances must reshape themselves to confirm this assumption. This isn't wishful thinking. This is the law of assumption in operation. Your present identity was formed by your past assumptions. Every belief you hold about yourself, every limitation you accept, every possibility you embrace, all of these came from assumptions you made, often unconsciously, about who you are and what you're capable of. The magnificent truth is this: if you can assume an identity, you can assume a new one. You are not bound by your past. You are not limited by your history. You are not condemned to repeat your previous patterns. Start now, not tomorrow, not when conditions improve, not when you feel more confident, but now. Begin to assume the feeling of wealth. Walk a little differently, with the confidence of someone who knows their worth. Speak with a little more authority, with the voice of someone who has something valuable to offer. Make decisions from the state you're growing into, not the state you're growing out of. Let me share with you one of the most powerful techniques I've ever discovered: the art of revision. This practice alone has transformed more lives than any other single technique I know. Each night, before sleep, instead of reviewing your day as it was, revise it as it should have been. This isn't about denying what happened. It's about changing the impression these events leave on your consciousness. Did you have a conversation about money that left you feeling small and inadequate? Revise it. Replay that scene in your imagination, but this time see yourself responding from a state of prosperity and confidence. Hear yourself speaking with the authority of someone who knows their value. Did you receive news that disappointed you? Perhaps a rejection, a setback, or a no when you hoped for a yes, revise it. Imagine receiving the news you desired instead. Feel the joy, the relief, the satisfaction of the outcome you wanted. Did you walk past a store window and feel lack because you couldn't afford what you saw? Revise it. Imagine walking past that same window with the comfortable knowledge that you could easily afford whatever caught your eye. This isn't denial of facts. This is the changing of the impression these facts leave upon your consciousness. Because it's not the external event that shapes your future, it's the internal impression it leaves behind. When you revise your day, you're not changing what happened in the past. You're changing the meaning you give to what happened, and meaning is what creates your future experiences. Now, let me be very clear about something that separates those who succeed with these principles from those who fail. It's not enough to think new thoughts. You must feel new feelings. I've met countless people who understand these principles intellectually, but never experienced their power because they try to think their way into a new reality without ever feeling their way there. When you imagine your wealth, you must feel wealthy. When you assume your success, you must feel successful. When you revise your day, you must feel the reality of the revised version. The feeling is the secret that breathes life into your imaginal acts. How does it feel to be financially free? Not just comfortable, but truly free to make choices based on desire rather than necessity? How does it feel to have multiple streams of income flowing to you effortlessly? How does it feel to be generous because you have abundance to share? How does it feel to make decisions without the constraint of financial limitation? Don't just think about these things, feel them. Saturate yourself in these feelings until they become natural to you, until they feel more real than your current circumstances. The feeling of wealth is different from the feeling of wanting wealth. The feeling of success is different from the feeling of hoping for success. The feeling of abundance is different from the feeling of needing abundance. You must learn to distinguish between these feelings and cultivate the feelings of fulfillment, not the feelings of desire. Let me tell you a story that illustrates the power of assumption. There was a man I knew who was deeply in debt, struggling to make ends meet, and feeling hopeless about his financial future. His external circumstances were quite dire, but this man understood the principle I'm sharing with you. Instead of focusing on his debts and limitations, he began to assume the feeling of financial abundance. Every night before sleep, he would imagine himself debt-free, prosperous, and generous. He would feel the relief of financial freedom, the joy of abundance, the satisfaction of being able to help others. During the day, when confronted with bills and financial pressures, instead of feeling overwhelmed, he would remind himself, this is just the old story playing out. My new story is one of abundance and prosperity. He began to carry himself differently, speak differently, make decisions differently. He stopped apologizing for his current circumstances and started living from his desired end. Within 6 months, opportunities began to appear. A business idea came to him that he had never considered before. Connections formed that opened doors he didn't even know existed. Resources materialized from unexpected sources. Within a year, he was not only debt-free, but had built a thriving business that generated more income than he had ever imagined possible. Did this happen because of luck? Because of coincidence? Because of some external force taking pity on him? No, it happened because he changed his assumption about himself and his relationship with money. He stopped assuming lack and started assuming abundance. He stopped identifying with limitation and started identifying with prosperity. The outer world had no choice but to conform to his inner conviction. I must warn you, my friend, the bridge between assumption and manifestation will test you in ways you cannot imagine. The old world, built on your former assumptions, will seem to resist your new claims. This is natural. This is temporary. This is the test that separates those who achieve lasting transformation from those who give up at the first sign of difficulty. When you begin to assume wealth consciousness, the old patterns will fight for their survival. Bills will still arrive. The bank account will still show the old figures. People will still treat you according to your past. Circumstances will seem to mock your new assumptions. This is not failure. This is not evidence that the principles don't work. This is the interval, the sacred space between assumption and manifestation, where your faith is being forged into fact. During this interval, you must live as if your assumption is already fact. You must remain faithful to your new state, regardless of what your senses report. Because what you're seeing with your physical eyes is the result of yesterday's assumptions, not today's. Imagine a farmer who plants seeds in the ground. For days, weeks, even months, there may be no visible sign of growth above the surface. Would the farmer dig up the seeds because he doesn't see immediate results? Of course not. He knows that growth is happening beneath the surface, in the unseen realm, and that in due time, the harvest will appear. Your assumptions are like seeds planted in the soil of consciousness. Trust the process. Have faith in the unseen. Remain faithful to your new assumptions, even when the old circumstances persist. Now I want to talk to you about the wealthy mind. The wealthy think from abundance, not about abundance. There's a profound difference that most people never grasp. Thinking about wealth while feeling poor creates internal conflict and mixed results. Your mind is divided, your energy is scattered, and your manifestations become confused and delayed. But thinking from wealth, assuming its reality, feeling its presence, making decisions from its truth. This creates the single-pointed focus that moves mountains and transforms circumstances. Every morning when you wake, before you check your phone, before you review your problems, before you engage with the world's agenda, spend the first moments of consciousness establishing your wealthy state. Feel it, assume it, live from it. This is not a one-time exercise. This is a daily discipline. Just as you must eat every day to nourish your body, you must assume wealth every day to nourish your consciousness. Throughout your day, when challenges arise, ask yourself, how would I handle this if I were already wealthy? Then handle it that way. When opportunities present themselves, ask, what would I do if money were no object? Then do that. When you're making purchases, even small ones, make them from a state of abundance rather than scarcity. When you're paying bills, pay them with gratitude rather than resentment. When you're earning money, receive it with the expectation of more, rather than the fear of lack. Every interaction with money is an opportunity to reinforce your wealthy consciousness or to undermine it. Choose wisely. As you begin to assume wealth, you must also assume the responsibility that comes with it. True wealth consciousness includes the understanding that you are blessed to be a blessing. You are prospered to prosper others. This is not just a moral obligation, it's a practical necessity. Wealth that is hoarded becomes stagnant. Wealth that is shared multiplies. Wealth that is used for the benefit of others becomes a magnet for more wealth. Begin now to think like a person who has wealth to share. Be generous with what you have, however small it may seem. Give not from your surplus, but from your substance. Give not when you can afford to, but when you can't afford not to. The universe cannot give you more until you prove yourself a good steward of what you've already been given. Every dollar you have is a test of your consciousness. How you handle small amounts determines how you'll be trusted with large amounts. You must understand something fundamental. You are not at the mercy of economic conditions, market forces, or external circumstances. These are merely the outpicturing of collective consciousness, and you can rise above them through the power of your individual assumption. When the world speaks of recession, you can assume prosperity. When others see limitation, you can see abundance. When the masses feel fear, you can feel faith. You are not subject to mass consciousness unless you choose to be. Your consciousness is your kingdom, and in this kingdom, you are sovereign. What you decree in consciousness must appear in experience, for consciousness is the only reality. Everything else is shadow, the shadow of consciousness, taking form in the world of appearances. This means you have the power to exempt yourself from any limitation, any lack, any circumstance that doesn't serve your highest good. You don't have to accept the world's verdict about what's possible for you. You don't have to bow to statistics or probabilities or realistic expectations. You can create your own reality by assuming it into existence. Here's what I want you to do. starting tonight and continuing every night for the rest of your life. Before sleep, when your conscious mind is quiet and your subconscious is most receptive, enter into the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Don't just think about wealth, feel wealthy. Don't just visualize success, feel successful. Don't just imagine abundance, feel abundant. Construct a scene that implies your financial success has already occurred. Make it specific, make it personal, make it meaningful to you. Perhaps you're writing a generous check to a charity you care about, feeling the joy of being able to give substantially. Perhaps you're calmly paying off a debt that once worried you, feeling the relief of financial freedom. Perhaps you're making an investment decision from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, feeling the confidence of someone who has options. Perhaps you're having a conversation with a loved one about a financial goal you've achieved, feeling the satisfaction of success. Perhaps you're walking through a home you've purchased, feeling the security of ownership. Perhaps you're reviewing your bank statement, feeling gratitude for the abundance it represents. Whatever scene you choose, make it vivid. See the details, hear the sound, feel the emotions that would be natural in that scene. Make it so real that for those moments, you forget its imagination. Repeat this scene until it feels familiar, until it feels real, until it feels inevitable. Then sleep in that assumption. Let your subconscious mind work through the night to make it so. When you wake in the morning, before you open your eyes, before you check your phone, before you engage with the world, spend a few moments remembering who you are. Not who you were yesterday, not who circumstances suggest you are, but who you are assuming yourself to be. Feel again the feeling of wealth. Assume again your prosperous identity. Set your consciousness to the frequency of abundance before you tune into the world's frequency of limitation. Throughout the day, whenever you notice yourself slipping back into old patterns of thinking or feeling, gently redirect your consciousness. Ask yourself, who am I assuming myself to be right now? If the answer doesn't align with your desire, make a new assumption. This is not a part-time practice. This is not something you do when you feel like it or when you remember. This is a way of life. This is the discipline that separates those who transform their circumstances from those who remain victims of them. I make you this promise, and I make it with absolute certainty, because it is based on law, not hope. If you will persist in these practices, if you will remain faithful to your new assumptions regardless of appearances, if you will live from your desired end rather than your current circumstances, then your outer world must and will conform to your inner convictions. This isn't theory, this is law. This isn't hope, this is certainty. This isn't possibility, this is promise. The same power that creates galaxies and governs the movement of planets is the power that operates through your consciousness. The same intelligence that orchestrates the seasons and maintains the balance of nature is the intelligence that responds to your assumptions. You are not separate from this power. You are not limited by this power. You are this power, individualized and expressing through your unique consciousness. You are not meant to struggle. You are not meant to lack. You are not meant to live beneath your dreams. You are meant to be the full expression of abundance, prosperity, and wealth consciousness. The only question is, will you assume it? Will you feel it? Will you live from it? Right now, in this very moment, you stand at a crossroads that will determine the trajectory of your entire life. You can continue to assume what you've always assumed and receive what you've always received. Or you can dare to assume something magnificent and watch as your world transforms to match. This is not a decision you can postpone. This is not something you can think about later. This is the moment of choice, and the choice you make right now will echo through every day of your future. I invite you to choose magnificence. I invite you to choose wealth consciousness. I invite you to choose the assumption that you are already the prosperous person you desire to be. Don't wait for conditions to improve. Improve your assumptions and watch conditions follow. Don't wait for the world to change. Change your consciousness and watch the world reshape itself around you. Don't wait for permission to be wealthy. Give yourself permission by assuming it to be so. Don't wait for proof that it works. Become the proof by making it work. The time is now. The power is within you. The choice is yours. Let me leave you with the most important truth of all. You are already wealthy. Not in potential, not in possibility, but in truth. Wealth is not something you need to acquire. It's something you need to accept. Abundance is not something you need to create. It's something you need to recognize. The infinite source of all wealth is within you right now. It has always been there. It will always be there. Your only job is to assume your oneness with it, to feel your connection to it, to live from the knowledge of it. Stop seeking wealth outside of yourself. Stop looking for it in circumstances, in other people, in external conditions. Find it within your own consciousness. Claim it as your own. Assume it as your truth. When you do this, when you truly accept your inherent wealth and live from that assumption, the outer world will have no choice but to confirm what you know to be true about yourself. Assume wealth, feel wealth, live wealth, be wealth, and so it is. Remember, my dear friend, repetition is the mother of all learning. Return to these truths daily, not as information to be understood, but as reality to be assumed. Listen to these words again and again until they become part of your consciousness, until they shape your assumptions, until they transform your life. For assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact, and the fact you choose to harden through assumption will become the foundation upon which your entire experience is built. Choose wisely, assume boldly, live magnificently. Your wealth consciousness awaits.
Money is not merely a physical object or a transactional tool, but a reflection of your inner state of being. Everything in your external world mirrors the relationship you have with yourself. Yes, with yourself. You are not chasing paper or numbers, but your own sense of worthiness, safety, and alignment. Money flows or withholds itself in accordance with your subconscious feelings of deservingness, which are shaped by how deeply you love and approve of yourself. When you hold contradictory beliefs, such as desiring wealth while secretly believing you are unworthy of abundance, money responds not to your conscious desire, but to the vibrational tone of your dominant inner state. You may tell yourself you want financial freedom, but if underneath you harbor guilt, shame, or resentment towards yourself, money will reflect that confusion by remaining inconsistent or absent. You cannot receive fully what you are not prepared to embrace from within. The energy of money, like all energy, is drawn to harmony, clarity, and love. When you begin to detach from the belief that your value is measured by what you have or do not have, you step into the freedom of becoming a conscious creator rather than a desperate seeker. Money begins to appear more frequently when you dissolve the illusion that it is external to your being. You stop measuring your worth through your bank account and start realizing that your internal sense of peace, confidence, and love for yourself is the true currency. As you practice assuming the feeling of already being abundant, already being worthy, already being supported by life, money begins to take notice, not because it judges, but because energy always aligns with its own likeness. You no longer fear lack, because you understand lack is not a punishment, but a mirror showing you where you've forgotten your power. When you return to the feeling of certainty within, money returns to you naturally, because it no longer needs to teach you through absence. You might think money is teaching you about wealth, but in truth, money is teaching you about love. The love you hold, the love you withhold, and the love you have yet to remember belongs to you unconditionally. You become magnetic to the flow of money, not when you chase it or manipulate your circumstances, but when you fall in love with your own being, when you soften into the knowing that your worth is not up for negotiation. Money comes to you as a response to your inner dialogue, and when your dialogue is loving, confident, and self-affirming, money has no resistance. The energy of money responds to the frequency of wholeness, and the more whole you feel within, the more it circulates around you with ease. When you assume that you are already supported, you send a message into the energetic field that you are safe, capable, and ready. You no longer beg or plead or wait for external proof. You move with the feeling of being held by the unseen currents of life. Money doesn't rescue you. It reflects your own rescue of self from limitation and self-abandonment. When you love yourself enough to believe you are already chosen, already worthy, already aligned, you unlock a level of ease that transcends hustle and effort. You begin to feel relaxed in your body, expansive in your mind, and generous in your spirit because you trust that life reflects your belief. Not your doubt, not your fear, but your unwavering assumption of fulfillment. The more love you feel for yourself, the more money becomes a cooperative energy, eager to match your new internal rhythm. You may have believed that suffering was noble, that self-sacrifice was virtuous, that guilt was necessary, but these are the very frequencies that keep you in a state of emotional debt. You cannot attract wealth while believing you must earn your right to receive. When you break free from the belief that you need to prove yourself to be valuable, money can finally begin to reach you through paths you had long forgotten were possible. You stop resisting the flow and begin allowing, not from passivity, but from empowered surrender. Self-love is not a luxury. It is the foundation of all attraction. The moment you shift from trying to get money to realizing you are the vibration of wealth itself, the universe reorganizes in your favor. You stop asking for permission to receive, and instead assume the posture of one who is already held by infinite supply. You become less attached to outcomes because you know that all outcomes originate from your inner certainty. You release desperation, which is rooted in self-doubt, and you embody confidence, which is rooted in self-love. This change is not always loud, but it is always magnetic. Your external reality becomes softer, more cooperative, more harmonious, because you have returned to internal harmony. You no longer make money your source, but your mirror, and mirrors never lie. They reflect what you believe to be true about yourself. When you assume the feeling of already being fulfilled, you stop needing money to fill the void. And ironically, money flows more freely because it is no longer burdened with the task of proving your value. You love yourself enough to know that you are already whole. And from that wholeness, money becomes a joyful companion, not a savior. You move differently, speak differently, and show up to life with a quiet confidence that whispers to the universe, "I remember who I am." And the universe responds, not because it grants you a wish, but because it reflects your inner knowing without resistance or delay. Each time you choose to believe in your sufficiency, money aligns with that belief because it is a neutral responder to your energetic stance. Money is not teaching you how to become more valuable. It is showing you where you've forgotten that you already are. It challenges your self-perception not to punish, but to elevate. When you finally love yourself enough to no longer abandon your own needs, your own vision, your own joy, money responds as a faithful echo. You stop waiting for signs and become the sign. You stop seeking validation and become the source of it. And from this place, you find yourself not only attracting money, but holding it with grace, circulating it with love, and multiplying it with ease. Because now you are aligned, not just with money, but with your truest self. You can no longer be manipulated by fear when you remember that you are not chasing abundance. You are returning to it. The illusion of lack was never real. It was only the absence of self-recognition. When you love yourself, you recognize that what you desire is simply an extension of your own being. Money is not a prize at the end of the journey. It is a companion on the path of remembering. When you walk in the energy of already being enough, already being chosen, already being rich in spirit, money doesn't have to fix anything. It simply reflects everything. You see that love and money are the same frequency: receptivity, openness, alignment. And when you are open to love, you are open to wealth because they are one. Every time you catch yourself believing that money is the cause of your happiness or the answer to your struggles, you remind yourself that it is merely a symbol of the inner harmony or discord you carry. You release the illusion of separation and come home to the truth that you are the creator, not the victim of your financial reality. And with this realization, you step into the power to change it, not by force, but by love. As you live from the feeling of already having, already being, already knowing, Your relationship with money transforms from one of dependence to one of collaboration. You are no longer begging the world to see your worth. You are standing in it. Money follows the feeling of certainty, and certainty is the natural outcome of love. When you love yourself, you no longer fear the unknown because you know who you are in the midst of it. You walk with calm expectancy, not because life owes you anything, but because you know that life cannot deny what you already claim as true within. You don't chase, you attract. And your attraction is rooted not in strategy, but in identity. When you begin to embody the version of yourself who no longer negotiates their worth based on temporary conditions, you become the anchor for lasting abundance. You do not need to convince money to stay because you are no longer vibrating from the fear of loss or rejection. You recognize that love, not control, is the gateway through which wealth enters and remains. And when you treat yourself with kindness, with inner reverence, with the dignity of someone who truly belongs, money becomes an extension of that belonging. It shows up not to prove anything, but to reflect what is already settled within you. This is not about pretending, but about persisting in a state of inner knowing, even when the outer hasn't caught up, because you know now that the outer always bows to the inner. You are not asking the world to bring you proof. You are being the proof, living from the felt sense of completion. The more deeply you commit to the belief that you are inherently supported, the more you will see life rearranged to support you. This commitment is not made in the mind alone. It is felt in your body, in your emotions, in the spaces where you used to carry tension and now carry peace. Money doesn't come to the version of you who is waiting to feel safe. It comes to the version of you who feels safe now, not because of the digits in your account, but because of the love in your heart. When you stop seeking money as the permission slip to love yourself and start loving yourself as the origin point of wealth, you no longer hold your power hostage to external results. You become steady in your vibration, no longer reactive to delays because you understand the truth. Nothing is being withheld. What appears as delay is only the time it takes for your new state to stabilize and materialize. You trust the process because you trust yourself. You start to see how every past struggle with money was really a lesson in self-worth disguised as financial limitation. Each no you experienced was asking you to say yes to yourself more fully. Each time you feared running out, the invitation was to remember the infinite supply within you. And now you see that you were never blocked. You were becoming conscious. The blocks were beliefs, and you hold the power to dissolve them by loving the parts of you that once felt unworthy of release. You don't need to fix or force or figure everything out. You need only return to the truth that you are whole right now. And in that wholeness, you allow the natural flow of abundance to resume. There is no effort in being who you already are, only willingness to remember it. The more you rest in your true identity, the more money flows without resistance because it is no longer being asked to solve your identity crisis. You are no longer dependent on outcomes to feel good. And in this detachment, paradoxically, outcomes shift in your favor. You stop performing and start aligning. You stop proving and start allowing. And in this space of relaxed power, you become undeniably magnetic, not because you are doing more, but because you are being more of who you truly are. Money flows, not because you chase it, but because you've stopped running from yourself. And in the end, you realize that loving yourself was never separate from receiving. It was always the foundation of it. And that's it for the day. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to share your thoughts and insights in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it already. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.